It's no, look, it is confusing. It's worrisome.
So while we're waiting a little bit, let's go around real quick. So just good evening. For those who are new to Loudon Photo Club, my name is John Tabor. I'm the president of the club. And we are here for our speaker night tonight. I'll introduce our speaker here in just a few minutes. We're just, typically we use the first several minutes of the meetings to just get to know each other. And as I mentioned earlier, I see a lot of new names. We introduced ourselves to Rick. Rick, I'm going to ask you to take yourself off mute, if you would, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what equipment do you use? What are your favorite subjects? Career goals in photography. A little bit about Rick.
I've got a pretty good career, so I don't know about career goals in photography, but I've been using a Nikon D5 for a while. I also am from Washington, D.C., but just moved out to the Loudon area during the pandemic. And I was shooting a lot of things in the city, a lot of buildings, a lot of city kind of scapes, but I really have an interest in getting into portrait photography, not for business, but for pleasure. I love shooting people, and I'm really here to learn as much as I can from other people who've been doing it for a while and just trading tips and trends. In my day job, I am the CEO of a professional association, a global professional association. So my hands are full there. This is strictly to relax, get out and meet people and do something that I love to do, although it's been just, I'm an amateur and I want to learn more. I got a great camera, but I don't know how to make it sing yet. So that's me.
Yeah, you got a real monster of a camera. Anybody else new would like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Cami. I recently joined. I have a Sony A7 R3, engineer by day, but love, due to previous career, to shoot astrophotography and that type of thing at night.
Well, it'd be a little difficult during the day, right?
Yes, it would.
Oh, another great camera, though. Great, welcome. Anybody else new to the club that would like to introduce yourselves?
My name's, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
My name's Christian. I've been an amateur, sort of amateur photographer for a long time. I used photography at work for defect analysis and things of that nature, inspections and whatnot.
That's pretty. You said it was yours.
Huh?
You said it was yours.
And now I'm closer and closer to retirement. So I'm using my photography more and more, and it's become a profession, not a hobby anymore. And I shoot Nikon.
Very good. Don, I think you were trying to jump in there as well.
My name is Don. I'm actually in Prince William County, but work in Loudoun County. I've been doing photography since I was about 18, but still it's a hobby. So I'm an amateur, not professional. I actually work in IT. Equipment, I have a Nikon D850 and a D500. Just looking to work with other people who enjoy taking pictures. My favorite area to take pictures is downtown DC at night, particularly the mall. But I'm just looking to learn what I can.
Excellent. Welcome. Welcome. Anybody else?
By the
Yeah,
way,
Go
Halifax
ahead.
County.
Okay. Welcome.
And may I just say one more thing? I'm very envious of the name Montana. I wish that was my name. So Montana Harris. Maybe I need to come up with a state name.
Yeah,
love
Sydney, I think he's talking about you, my man.
I love it.
Just because I live in Montana now.
All right. Anybody else new who'd like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm outside of Loudoun County. I am a semi-pro. I've done a couple weddings, and I do work at church for events and so forth. So I'm just, would like to learn, new things, keep up with my skills and knowledge in photography. So
Great. Welcome.
thank you.
Rick, did I understand correctly that you graduated UCF?
I did. I graduated UCF and went to Florida State first and used to be in radio many years ago. So I moved all around the state, and the last place I worked was in Orlando. So that's where the degree hit. But yep, I did.
Yeah, my son's an alum of UCF.
It's a great school.
Anybody else like to introduce yourself?
I'm Nancy. Can you hear me?
Hey, Nancy.
Yep. I have a Nikon D800 that I shoot with. I started doing photography several years ago with my son became very interested in ornithology. So I was out with him actually all over the country taking pictures of birds and landscapes. And my daughter does barrel racing, so I've done rodeo shots too. And the last couple of years I've been doing real estate photography. So, but it's always good to learn new things. So I'm just here to kind of expand keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, that's quite the range of subjects.
Yeah.
So you go from birds to horses, rodeo, and then architectural.
Real estate. Yes. It's definitely a learning curve, but there's always new things to learn. So.
Yep, always. Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Lee. I'm actually over in Fairfax, but like to come out to Loudoun as much as I can. My husband and I both shoot Canon. He's got the new mirrorless. I haven't made the switch yet. We like to do landscape and have in recent years been branching out into wildlife. Just returned from a week-long workshop up in Yellowstone. So Yellowstone in the winter, which was great fun. We have exhibited our work some, and actually we're signed up to do a street fair at the end of April, and that will be, of course, our first time to be out in public like that since COVID hit. So we're scaling up to get ready for that.
Very good. So I'm just curious. I've never been to Yellowstone in the wintertime, but I hear it's a beautiful place. How much snow did you have when you were there?
Well, it was less than typical. Apparently, the snow pack is about 30% of what it would be in a normal year, which was good in some respects because there were places we could walk to, for example, go out and find moose where normally it would have been too deep and we couldn't have done it. But on the downside, some of the sagebrush was poking up through the snowpack, and that made it harder to see the animals because normally, they're the only thing on a white surface. But it was amazing. It was wonderful. My advice, if anybody wants to go, is to go with a guide who's been there a lot. our guide knew, he's been doing it for 18 years. He knew where the animals were likely to be and at what time. And I think that made all the difference.
Yeah, I've used local guides before, and you're absolutely right. Especially if you want to do any kind of wildlife, the locals know their habits and your favorite places. Absolutely, will get you in the right spot for a good photo. So totally agree on that point.
If I may ask, who you go with in the workshop? Who led the workshop?
The one we went with was Juan Pons, Pons is his last name. And he actually does, he goes all over the world doing workshops.
That's how you make money in photography.
Yeah. How do you make a small fortune in photography?
Selling equipment.
Start with a big one.
I thought you had to sell your equipment.
We got too many folks representing with some really good equipment here tonight. So I wouldn't recommend that just yet. Anybody else new? Want to introduce yourself? I think we may have just covered everybody. Hi, Dave.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well.
Good. I'm multitasking, but I was very curious to jump in on this. I live in Leesburg, and I've been to a couple of you guys' meetings over the past few years, but nothing lately. I started out shooting underwater actually in the Cayman Islands, and then mostly living here now. So I shoot wildlife as much as I can. I shoot a few running events and stuff once in a while, and do what I can whenever I can.
Very nice.
I shoot Canon right now. I was always a Nikon film guy and shot Nikon underwater and Olympus underwater, and but now I've got just a 60D, but I love my L series lens, so that's my go-to, my 70-200. Just the cheap one, not the nice f2, but f2.8 one. But yeah, I'll take what I can get.
I don't know. I don't shoot Canon, but I mean L series glass is nothing to sneeze at, no matter what the aperture.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Best money I spent on the camera so far. So
very good. Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks. Good to be here.
Well, again, if we missed you, feel free to jump in later if you want to introduce yourself. But we'll go ahead and get started. Again, Loudon Photo Club, we meet typically twice a month, except for summertime and Christmas. We usually let people have Thanksgiving off, for example, and then we shift our meetings on Christmas to work around Christmas. But the second and fourth Thursdays are our usual meeting dates. We do speaker nights on the first, on the second Tuesday, the first meeting in a month. And then the other meeting is where we do competitions, and the competition themes are posted on our website at loudonphotoclub.com. And if you have any questions, you can certainly sign up for our email list, and the links to do that are included on our website. Again, loudonphotoclub.com is that site. And that is the email list is our primary means of communication. We also have a Facebook group, and obviously Meetup. Some of you I know came to us from the Meetup group. So again, that's another outlet to get to us. So anyway, that's a little bit about Loudon Photo Club. And we're currently homeless. We had been working with Loudon Lansdowne Woods, I should say. And, of course, when COVID hit, that venue has been pretty much closed to us ever since. They are interested in having us back, but no timeline. So right now, we're all virtual. So anyway, tonight is the first Tuesday or second Tuesday of the month, first meeting of the month, and we're going to have a speaker. Doug Mattice is a local photographer, educator, and business coach. He's been a member of the Professional Photographers of America since 1995. He's been in the Virginia Professional Photographers Association for over 25 years and is currently a member of Loudon Photo Club. He's the founder of Mattice Photography Training and Business Coaching, and you can find him at dougmattice.com. That's MATTICE.com. It's a business development and training company that builds or helps photographers build, market, and monetize their business better than ever before. So you're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. He acquired his business experience by operating a part-time portrait studio from home for over 35 years. He received his craftsman degree from the PPA and his professional coaching certification from the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. Tonight, we give you Doug Mattice.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. And welcome, everybody. I appreciate you coming out. Well, staying at home, I guess, but ideally, this is a business program, so it's kind of odd to see so many people attending a business program when it's a photography club. But I hope to give you a lot of good information this evening if you're thinking about, selling your work. So the first thing I'd like to do is in the chat, if you could just let me know, how long have you been a photographer? And if you could, let me know what is one thing that you would like to take away from tonight's program. So just tell me how many years you've been photographing, and then is there one thing, there's obviously you're spending your time with me, you want to learn something. So if you could just give me an idea of what that would be, I'd appreciate that. And then we'll get started. Oh, somebody's been here longer than me. 40 plus years. Okay, very good. A lot of experience here tonight. Have a needs for selling images? Yes, I'll do that. We'll talk about that. All right, so we have quite an experienced group. So if you're new to photography, that's what's nice about the Loudon Photo Club is there's a lot of people here that have been doing photography as a hobbyist, some professionally. So you've got a lot of expertise here, a lot of war stories, a lot of people that started back in the film days and have switched over to digital. So, okay, that's very helpful. So let me, I'm going to close my chat here. And so we can get started. So yeah, tonight we're going to talk about marketing and selling fine art photography. So that's going to be a little bit different than if you're a portraitist or a wedding photographer, because in those cases, you're photographing people, and people have money, and people like to see themselves in photography. So that's a whole different market. Fine art photography is, landscape photographers, wildlife photographers, macro photographers, things that you're photographing that look great, but the subject itself does not have money. So you've got to take the work that you've done and, show it to people and get people to enjoy what you do. And then you can learn how to sell your photography. So that's what tonight's about. Marketing and selling your fine art photography and tips for building a sustainable and profitable business. So here's what we'll cover tonight. We're going to go over to 3 facts you need to know before even starting your business. The 3 buckets all artists and photographers fall into. How to choose the right platform to sell your photography. Ways to take advantage of social media. And then I'm going to show you some sales and promotion strategies that I use currently in my business that I think if you beg, borrow, and steal and use, you could use it to grow your business also. So a little bit just about me is I'm kind of like you. I've been around for a long time. I started photography way back in the 80s. I ran a part-time portrait studio from my home for the last 35 years. I've studied with a lot of the big names back when film was around, like Monty Zucker, Charles Lewis, Don Blair. I mean, these are people that were the founders of, in a sense, of good photography. Learned from them. I received my craftsman degree from the Professional Photographers of America. And I continue to hone my craft by studying with some of the most successful photographers across the country. Currently, what I'm doing, I'm retired now and I'm spending my time doing fine art photography. And then late last year, I started photographing golfers on the golf course and selling portrait work for wall decor in their homes. So I'm going to pursue that quite a bit this spring and summer. So kind of a new portrait venture for me. I love the game of golf and I love photography, so I'm marrying them together. And then about 9 years ago or so, I became a certified coach, and then I turned that into more certified business coaching because I really want to help photographers succeed. It really pains me to see great photographers out there who can shoot wonderful photos, but when they went into business, they didn't understand marketing, didn't understand the business principles that it took to be successful. And then after a few years, they were out of business. So that's what I try to do in the business coaching side, is to help photographers succeed and become profitable. So what I want to cover here are the 3 facts you need to know before starting your business. And this is going to sound a little grim at first, but I promise things will get better. But I wanted to be upfront with you if you're considering, I do photography, I do pretty good. Maybe I should, sell my work, or, hey, I'm thinking of retiring soon. This would be a great transition type thing to take my hobby to being, into a full-time business. What do we think about that? So here's some stats that you need to be aware of right away. First of all, 85% of the world's population is walking around with a camera in their pocket. I just looked the other day, and it's estimated that 1.4 trillion, that's trillion with a T, photographs will be taken this year alone. So as a photographer who's thinking about, starting their business, you have to realize now that photography is a commodity. It's all around us. It's so easy to take a photo today and put it on Instagram, Facebook, get it printed. So photographers are everywhere, and photography is now a commodity. So you have to decide, okay, if I want to go into this business, how can I make myself unique and different in such a way that other people will, purchase my work so I can make a living doing that. The next thing that you have to be aware of is that the Professional Photographers of America, they surveyed over 30,000 members and found that 70% of photographers who are in business today feel they lack the confidence and essential business skills to have a sustainable and profitable business year after year. So that's a kind of an amazing stat, because these are active professional photographers that are currently in the PPA. So in the chat box, let me just take a quick poll here. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how confident you are with your business skills and the ability to sell your work. And if you're not currently selling any photographs, just type a 0 in the box. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 not very confident, up through 10, just let me know where we stand on that. A lot of zeros. Okay, so we're not selling yet. Okay, I see a 5 real quick here, some 1s. All right, so a lot of people are doing it as a hobby, but haven't quite, looks like, decided to sell their work. I have a person at a 5 level, a couple 5s, 2s. Okay, 4s and 5. Again, that's pretty typical. And I think that's what the PPA found, is that, most people are not very confident when it comes to selling their work and marketing themselves. The third stat, and then I promise things will get more positive after this, is that 85% of photographers who start a business today will be out of business within 3 years, even if their photography is fantastic. So why is this? And it's because most photographers don't want to take the time to learn the business side of photography. You know, they would rather spend their time thinking, okay, if I create beautiful photographs, people will come storming to my door and buy them, and you know, I can make a great living. Well, I've seen so many photographers over my career who are a lot better than me stumble and fall with that mindset. And so unless you take the time to spend learning the marketing side of things, learning how to sell your work on a consistent basis, understanding how to read a profit and loss statement, keeping track of your finances and taxes. So that, you know, if you don't spend the time doing that, it's going to be difficult to make it long-term in this business. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's going, if you're thinking of going into photography business or starting to sell your work, it is going to be a long journey. And so you need to kind of prepare yourself for this, as there's no magic pill for success. So let's talk about the three buckets that all of you as artists and photographers are going to fall into. So the first bucket, which represents roughly 20% of photographers, is this bucket where you have really not validated your photography, meaning you have not sold your photography to anyone besides your mother, your dad, your family, and friends. And so the key here is, if you're in this bucket, what you need to start doing is selling to strangers. You've got to validate the type of work that you're producing, and you got to start selling to strangers and selling multiple prints. And so what is the quickest way to sell your photography? It's finding people who want and will buy your photography. And that has to happen first. So you have to validate your work and then become laser focused on getting your photography to market so it can be sold. And when I say this, I want you to focus on, you know, creating your photographs and getting sample prints, whether it's canvas prints, metal prints, show a variety of prints, and see if people are willing to pay you for it. And keep taking and showing images to determine what people will buy. And so this will validate your photography and let you know if you're ready to go on to bucket number 2. Now, here's some of the problems that I see for people who are in bucket number 1. You know, they've been doing their photography, they're thinking about going into business and selling their work, but they'll tell me, well, I got to create a logo first, or I have to register my business and then get a business bank account, or I don't really know what my niche is yet. I don't know if it's wildlife, landscapes, flowers. I'm not sure what my niche is. And others will say, well, I'll get into business, but I got to do a website first. And, you know, maybe I don't have my prices right. So this is what I'm saying is, if you're in bucket 1 and you haven't validated your photography yet, you don't need to do any of these other business type things yet, because you don't even have a product that you know is going to sell. So if you spend all your time trying to set up a business that doesn't have a product that's viable, then you're really wasting a lot of time, effort, and money, which, you know, we can do better with. So if you're in bucket number 2, which is, like I said, around 70% of photographers are in this bucket, well, you've kind of validated your art. You've been doing this for years. You may have sold your work, you know, on a regular basis, or you're starting to sell your work. You're comfortable with your camera and those skills, but you still need to learn more on the business side of photography. So that's bucket 2. But the thing that you need to do if you're in that bucket is you have to start spending more time marketing to become profitable consistently. You've got to get your name out there. Usually people in this bucket that I work with, they don't really have an email list yet, or a small list. They don't have a collector's list, which I'll talk to you about in a second, or a good way to generate leads. And they're not marketing consistently. So a lot of people do this, or in this bucket, or doing photography as a side hustle. seeing what they can do, let it build, and then trying to get some sales out of it. And it takes about 3 to 5 years to build a business. So you're going to stay in that bucket for quite some time, just to let you know. Now, I mentioned a collector's list. What is a collector's list? Because you're going to hear that throughout this program. So if you get an email list, if you get a subscriber through your website, for example, to join your newsletter list, that becomes an email subscriber. But it's not until you actually sell something to them that when that happens, they can then become not only an email subscriber, but go onto your collector's list. And it's important if you're starting to sell your wildlife photography or your landscape photography and people are buying it, get those people separated from your email list to your collector's list, because as you grow your business and release new things, you can segment your list and focus on your collectors first, give them maybe a special deal, say, hey, I'm releasing this brand new landscape photo that I just did in Yellowstone National Park. And since you've been a collector, you can get the first chance at this rate. And then I'm going to go public with it in the next month or so, and it'll be at a higher rate. So try to separate your email list from your collector's list. Okay. And then the bucket number 3 is roughly 10% of photographers are in this bucket. And these are people who've been in this industry for a long time. They have a collector's list. They understand how to market smartly. Part-time photographers in this bucket are selling, $10,000 to $50,000 a year. People that have been going full-time and are really good at what they do, they can make 6 figures each year. So again, that's a smaller bucket, but it's something to think that you want to go for. So here are some strategies. Well, first of all, let me know in the chat, what bucket are you in? Are you number 1, number 2, or number 3? I'd like to know that. Just type in 1, 2, or 3. Okay, good mix between 1 and 2, a lot more in 1. Very good. And yep, lots of people in number 1. And someone said firmly entrenched in number 2. Yes, 2 for real estate and 1 for wildlife. That's great. Yes, you could be in 2 buckets because I've kind of gone that way. Portrait photography, I've actually been in bucket 3, but now, fine art photography, I'm more like bucket 2. So that's true, depending on the type of photography that you do. Okay, so that's good. So most of you, I would say, are in number 1. And that being said, let's go through some strategies that you can do here. So again, bucket 1 strategy, first thing you need to do is validate your work. And you want to find people who want and will buy your photography. So until you actually validate your photography with people, you cannot move out of bucket 1. Simple as that. So your focus right now is creating different types of photography that can be sold. And you want to continue to build your photography and, more importantly, your selling skills. You got to get comfortable marketing yourself, selling yourself, pricing your work. So that's very important at this stage in bucket 1. You want to create samples of different things that you photograph and show them, get them out there and show them to different people. Another good strategy is, besides just selling fine art prints, think about taking those images and making note cards from them, or calendars, or merchandise, t-shirts, coffee mugs. And the reason I'm saying that, it allows you then to have different price points to give to your customers for validation. So maybe somebody will spend $25 on a coffee mug, for example, but they're not willing to spend $100 on that same image as a print. So you want to think about ways that you can get your photography out there in different product styles and see which ones take off. The next thing is you want to keep showing images to determine what people will buy. So if people are not interested in what you're selling, then that's when you need to step back and reflect and maybe try to sell some other type of photography in order to start getting traction. So, you know, if the subject matter that you're doing is not interesting to other people, then the chances of them purchasing it are going to be slim, and then you're going to be out of business. So you want to figure out what it is that people like, that you like to photograph, and kind of marry that up, and then you know, start getting traction in that regard. So those are bucket one strategies. Now, if you're just starting out in bucket one, here's what I can tell you to do. Just go find 5 to 10 things that you can photograph locally that you think people would want to buy. I mean, if you're in the state of Virginia, there's so many beautiful places to go. If you're a landscape photographer, Great Falls Park, for example. If you're into macro photography, you know, there's a lot of botanical gardens in Virginia, places like that. So go find some places locally that won't cost you very much money to go and do, and photograph these things and see which of these sell the most. This will help validate your photography. And the other thing that I find when I work with some clients is that, you know, their photography is pretty good, but they're doing it at the wrong time of day. So maybe they're out at the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone National Park, but they're photographing the canyon at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Versus, you know, if you photograph it at sunset or sunrise, you're going to get a whole different lighting concept. So the idea that they're landscape photographers and the photography looks okay, it's just not as dramatic or brilliant as it could be by just photographing at a different time of day. Another thing is photograph from different perspectives and compositions. Use different lenses and look for what are some good, strong compositions. So spend time working on that in your photography to see, you know, do people purchase things where you've shown a lot of details, or are they showing, you know, wide angle images that you're photographing? Is that doing better? So keep an eye on the type of lenses that you're using, the type of detail that you're showing, and keep track of that and see what sells. Another strategy is to, you know, get feedback from other photographers. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of people in this Loudon Photo Club that have a lot of experience. They've been around. They've seen a lot of work, good, bad, and ugly, and they can give you some feedback. And then, you know, by participating in the competitions that we have every month, that challenges you to, you know, create things that you maybe not would do on a regular basis, but because of the topic and the subject that we're having to photograph, you challenge yourself, and then you'll get some feedback on that. So, you know, talk to other photographers, show your work to them and see what they say. And then finally, I want you to utilize the features in Lightroom and Photoshop to get the most out of your raw files. It's amazing what you can do from a raw file these days. And Lightroom has really made a big upgrade by the masking features that they've just come out with. And you can really enhance the color and to do so. All right, hold on, I just lost it. There we go. So we're, you know, work a lot on Lightroom and Photoshop, and get those camera skills up and get your photography skills, your lighting, your composition down. And those are things that you want to do. And if you're in bucket one, okay. Now, bucket two, here's some strategies here. You want to spend more time marketing because your photography skills are at a point where you're very comfortable behind the camera. You're comfortable with post-production. You validated your photography. You've got people that are interested in seeing your work that you produce. The key here is to get out and start marketing more. And this is the most difficult part of running a business because we all like to be behind our cameras, photographing things that really, you know, give us energy, and then, you know, trying to market our work and doing a lot of the day-to-day minutia that comes with running a business is, makes it difficult. But if you're in bucket 2, you want to try to start building an email list. And I'll show you a little bit how to do that in the upcoming section here. And then, like I said, start developing a collector's list. These are people that are interested enough to take their wallet out and pay you cash for it, your prints. And so you want to keep them separate from your regular email list. Another thing you want to consider is getting exhibits. Try to go around to local businesses to see if you can get a piece up in a restaurant, for example. See if anybody's willing to let you sell some note cards or to get your work out into the public area so it's seen more often than just being on potentially a website. You're going to want to find ways to generate leads to your website or other selling platforms. So in order to do that, this is where you've got to start posting consistently on your social media platforms and direct people back to your website or wherever you're selling your work from. And then video now is very, very popular, and I'll talk more about that. But if you do live videos that get your followers involved with the type of photography you do and see what you do, you'll have a lot more engagement with your followers by doing live videos. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Again, you're going to spend more years in bucket 2 than in bucket 1 or in bucket 3. It's going to take 3 to 5 years to gain clarity and feel that you're in control of your business. And this is why when I said earlier that 85% of photographers fail within the first 3 years, it's because they quit and they don't want to do these things of marketing and trying to sell and do Facebook posting and live videos. And so they're trying to find another magic pill. And whether that's a brand new website that says, hey, we can generate more traffic to your site, or a new gallery opens up down the street and you want to try to sell your work through a gallery, you're looking for a magic pill, and really there isn't one. So in this bucket 2, you want to spend more time generating leads and then building relationships with vendors, other people that could help you sell your work, than actually doing photography, which again, most of us don't like to do that because we'd rather be behind the camera. And then finally, some strategies if and when you get to bucket 3 is this is where you've had your business running for many years. You're making a decent living at it. Your business is chugging along. However, you're spending more time in the business than you'd like. And you think, gee, I've done this, but I'm not scaling. I'm not going, a lot of times when you start out in business, you might go from $0 to $2,000, or you might go from $5,000 to $15,000. Well, when you're getting up into this third bucket, your income is not going to increase that much. And so you want to figure out ways to scale this. And so one thing you can start doing is spending more time working on the business. And by doing that is where you start building a team of people around you that they can help do some of the behind the scenes things, such as social media posts and so forth, help you with your videos. So you can actually get behind the camera more and then start creating more stuff for your customers. And if you're also in this bucket, you want to look for ways to increase your ROI, which is return on investment, for the time and energy that you're putting into the business. And so people that I work with in this stage are looking to potentially transition out or retire or go part-time. And so in order to do that, you want to start automating your systems and kind of writing down your standard operating procedures of how you do things. So you can then kind of clone yourself and begin delegating these tasks to these new employees coming in. And that way you can start stepping away from your business, go out and maybe, take a bit more trips, photograph things on location, then, have those images available, but you got people on the backside helping you to put those up on social media, on your website, places that you're selling and so forth. So those are the bucket strategies there for where you are. So any questions, before we go on, are there any questions from what I've talked about in the 3 buckets? I'm going to go to the chat. So type them in the chat box if you have any questions whatsoever.
Yeah, there's the one in the chat from Daryl. Do you see that one?
If your time ratio in bucket 2 should be 80-20, how many photos or variety of photos should you have available to show potential customers? So by the time you've gotten to bucket 2, in a sense, I think a lot of times people have, with fine art photography, a lot of people focus more on landscape photography. Other people may focus on macro photography, flower photography, and so forth. So I think you've got your kind of your niche down that you're marketing to. So I think you've got to have enough variety, but you don't need to have like 500 or 600 images. A lot of times on a website, if you start showing more images at a time and giving people too many choices, you start confusing your audience a little bit. So if you have a niche of, let's say, different categories of, landscape photography, beach photography, abstract photography, flower photography, you could do that on a website and keep your images to maybe 15 to 20 in each of those categories. And that way you're not necessarily confusing your audience. And then again, if you have more images, you can take some of your images that aren't selling down and then bring more of your new images up. So hopefully that answers your question there, Daryl. Okay, any other questions on the chat before I close down and go to part 3? I think we're good. Okay, I'm moving on to part 3. So this is how to choose the right platform to sell your photography. So I get this question a lot. And the key here is, there we go. So the first question I want to ask is, how hands-on or not do you want to be? So as photographers, this is a passionate work for us, and we like to stay close to it. Make sure that, the colors that we're producing on our computer, if we send out and have them printed, we want to make sure that, our monitors match what's being printed by the professional printers. We like to be able to potentially see our work before we give it to the client. So these are things to think about in a business decision that you're going to have to make if you go into the fine art photography business. Because if you're someone who likes to print their own work, manage the inventory of the amount of prints that you've made, and are okay with shipping out your work and signing your work and mounting your work, and then you enjoy handling all the customer inquiries and service requests and customer complaints and shipping delays and so forth. If you're okay with that, then that's going to put you on one side of the spectrum. Now, on the other side of the spectrum is where a lot of people go, is where they want to just create the photography and then outsource it to a company that will be able to sell it for them, print and ship automatically to the customer. So there are 2 different ways to go here. So, if you want to print your own work and buy your own printer in-house and do that, that's definitely a way to go. But kind of where I'm going to go tonight is showing you different avenues for if you want to outsource things. So we're all kind of familiar with the gallery model. And a lot of times when I talk to photographers, that's what their dream, hey, if I could do this great landscape photography work, go across the country and do these great landscapes, I can get them printed and I can go down to my local gallery and get them put in there. Well, that's all well and good, but because, think about it, all you have to do is create the work and then get the work to the gallery. And isn't that what we all want? Well, it's all fine, because the gallery will take your work, they'll actually market it for you. And when somebody comes in and wants to purchase it, they'll sell it to them. But but they're going to take 40 to 60% of that sale. So unless you have a unique product or you're selling a lot of your products, you probably aren't going to make much money in galleries if they're taking 40 to 60% of the sale. So it's just something to consider. Here's the other issue. If someone purchases a gallery print, they're probably not going to tell you that, Betsy Jones just purchased this. Usually they keep that customer information inside because they want to continue to market to Betsy Jones and send postcards to her and things like that. They don't want you as the artist now marketing to Betsy Jones. So that hurts you as a business person because people are buying your work, but you don't know who's necessarily doing it. And like I said, some galleries will not share that information with you. Another thing to consider is if another photographer or artist comes into the gallery, all right, and they've got something unique and something that might be front and center, they may take your work that was potentially front and center or in a good location and move it somewhere else in the gallery in order to make room for this new person coming in. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. And if they're moving location, then they're also probably not going to market you as consistently as the new person that just arrived. And so that way, I'm going to say this, that the gallery model usually works best for people that have reached that third bucket level. And the reason I say that is because those people are more well-known in the community, and they've been able to produce a unique style of photography that attracts the gallery buyer. And so that's something to consider, but it is an option for you. But I'm saying it's not going to be the most profitable option going forward. Okay, so this is third-party online retailers. Now I'm going to bounce out of here for a second, and I'm going to show this video. It's only a minute and a half long, and I think it's kind of entertaining. And this is from Fine Art America. So let me see if I can get that to go for you.
Since the dawn of time, artists have inspired the world with their beautiful creations. In the past, artistic success was as effortless as painting a beautiful woman, living a tortured life, and being a little bit weird. For today's artists, life isn't so simple. You're responsible for marketing, customer service, order fulfillment, trade shows, and more. And after all that time and effort, you may still go unnoticed by a public that's trapped in the daily grind. Only when you're dead does your art gain the attention and sales that you wanted. What about selling while you're alive and eliminating those business tasks that you hate? Introducing FineArtAmerica.com. Artists and photographers. Simply upload your images, set your prices, and we take care of the rest, including printing, framing, matting, packaging, shipping, collecting payments, dealing with your buyers, and sending you your profits each month. Buyers can browse through millions of images uploaded by living, breathing artists from all over the world. Each image can be purchased as a framed print, stretched canvas, acrylic print, greeting card, and more. Fine Art America prints and assembles your order and delivers a museum-quality masterpiece right to your doorstep. Your order arrives ready to hang and includes a 30-day money-back guarantee. There is simply no safer, faster, easier way to buy and sell artwork online. The world's greatest living artists and photographers. All
right, let me come back here in a second. Get rid of this. Okay, John, give me a thumbs up if everything's back to normal. Okay, everything's good. So, this is an interesting concept. There's other ones besides Fine Art America out there that are doing this. Saatchi Art is one of them. Art.com is another. So again, you take your great images, you upload them to a print on demand site, and they'll handle everything for you. So they'll handle the printing, the framing, the shipping for you. The only thing here, guys, is that you're competing with thousands of artists. If you saw in that video, you know, a customer is going to go to this site, and then all of a sudden, instead of your work, they're going to see many other photographers' work. Matter of fact, more than 100,000 photographers are selling through Fine Art America right now alone. So this makes it difficult for you to stand out from other photographers and artists on the platform. Another thing to consider when you're doing this is that we all know about algorithms through Facebook and Instagram, right? So these algorithm changes can affect the traffic seeing your photography. So for example, if you get out there and you're fortunate enough to be in the first 10 listings of a landscape photography of the Grand Canyon, well, then that may be well and good tonight, but then a week from now, you may not be in that top 10 when somebody searches for Grand Canyon photography, right? So that can affect, you know, your visibility on these sites. And again, you're not going to get any customer information when somebody buys something, because these sites will take care of all that on the backside. So the other thing to consider is if you create your own website just to have some of your images on that, or you're promoting your work through Facebook or Instagram, right? So you've got people coming to your Facebook or Instagram site, but then you're saying, go to Fine Art America or go to art.com to go see my work. You're actually sending them away from your business to go find you again. So that makes it a lot more difficult to market yourself when that happens. So third party is not a bad option if you're looking to kind of put your toe in the water here and say, okay, I've got some great prints. I don't want to go full out in this. I'm still working, you know, full-time job, but I would like to see if there's interest in, you know, people outside of my little circle here that could potentially buy this. You could work with these sites and then upload some photography to them and see what you sell. Normally what I found when I've talked to people that do this is they're only selling a few prints a year, but they are selling a few prints a year. So if you're okay with doing that, and you know, these sites can allow you to sell small images all the way up to large wall portraits, so or wall decor. So you can, you know, maybe make pretty good money from selling those few prints a year. So that's up to you. All right, so that's third party. And then the next one, if I can get to my, there we go. This is called direct to consumer selling. And this is kind of what I do. I've given you a link here to artstorefronts.com. If you do blog.artstorefronts.com, that's who I use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick demo of what my site looks like. So the first thing, I'll tell you some things, and I've been happy with Art Storefronts, just to let you know, but if you wanted to do this yourself through Squarespace or Zenfolio or whatever, you know, there's definitely other places out there that are less expensive than Art Storefronts. But the one thing I wanted to show you is the technology, because, you know, a lot of people think, well, if I get a super duper website, you know, that's going to bring in a lot of interested people, and then, you know, they're going to love it and they'll buy my work. The website is just one piece of the marketing piece. So I want to show you a couple of things here off my site. The first thing is when you go to my site, which is artistrybymattice.com, the first thing that's going to pop up is this instant savings coupon thing. And it's asking just for an email, because I'm trying to build my email list, right? So this gives the first time purchaser or prospect to come onto my site, and they have this ability to just put their email in, sign me up, and that's going to give them an instant 20% off coupon from their first order. But more importantly for me is now I have that person's email address and I can start marketing to them directly through email. So that's the first piece. Then the second piece, I have this announcement bar up here that just, you can type in anything you want on that to get, obviously it gets attention. So you want, again, subscribe and get 20% off your first order. So those are two important things right off the bat. And then further down my website, I even have one other time that they can sign. All I'm asking them to do is give me their email address and sign up and join my community. So those are very important pieces of information that you want to have as a marketer, because you want to know who's coming into your store, right? And if they leave you their email address, then boom, you've got their email, and then you can start marketing directly to them. And then hopefully over time, they'll go from being an email subscriber to a collector. All right, another feature that I wanted to show you on the site is, again, I have different categories here, flowers, abstract, landscapes, seascapes, and stuff. So to get in that, I'll go to, just for example here, I'll go to landscapes. You click on that, and it's going to call up the different things that I've put into this gallery. So we're all familiar with Great Falls Park. All right, so here's one that I did of Great Falls. So this will bring it up, and notice that there's a little tutorial here for first time people coming on. So what it's asking you to do, this little magnifying glass will allow you to zoom in a little bit, which is kind of nice. And then you as the artist, you pick how you want to sell your images. What type of medium do you want them to be on? So let's say I want this to be a gallery canvas. I'm interested in a gallery canvas for my bedroom. Okay. So if you notice the canvas, it shows now what this looks like as a gallery wrap, because it just changed by doing that. Now, what I want to figure out next is what size do I want it to be for my bedroom? So, well, there's two ways to do it. If I'm not knowing what I want to do, there is this thing called a wall preview down here, which is quite good. So if I click on that and I go to my bedroom, okay, this is not my bedroom, but it is a bedroom, right? And so this is a 12 by 8. Let me move this down here. This is a 12 by 8. As photographers, we know that that would be too small. So you have the ability now to say, well, what about if I made it this size? Oh, that's much better. Or is that too big? Let me go down one size. That's pretty good there. But, I like Doug, I want to go with a bigger one, right? So that shows the client, potential customer, pretty much what the appropriate size is. There's another piece down here called Live Preview AR. I'm not going to get into it, but if you're interested in it, this would use your iPhone. If you clicked on that, you can use your phone to capture my image there and put it on your wall in your bedroom and then adjust up or down. And the other feature, which is pretty cool, is that these are all the best, I think it's Sherwin-Williams paint. So if you wanted to paint your bedroom a different color or show what color your bedroom is today, then you can use that. So that's the live preview. So 36 by 24 looks like that's going to be the size. So all of a sudden a canvas wrap, and then here's the total price over here. And then styles would be, if they, it comes as a 1.5 gallery wrap, and it's ready to go. So there, they can add that to their cart, and that would get printed by Bay Photo and shipped to them directly to their home. So I just wanted to show you real quick kind of what the website is. And, it's pretty state of the art, and Art Storefronts does a nice job with you setting this up. If you want to create some self-fulfillment items, you can do that. Like I sell these little small prints here for $22. As I mentioned earlier, you want to have different price points to see what sells and what doesn't sell. So I just wanted to show you that real quickly, and come back to this. So let's talk about the advantages of direct-to-consumer selling. Number one, let me see, I lost my mouse. Number one is, like I said, you can create your own website through SmugMug, Zenfolio, or Squarespace. It's just knowing the sophistication of it. Like I said, Art Storefronts does a pretty good job giving you a state of the art. But more importantly, either whatever you decide to do, you have an exclusive site. And so now what you want to do, once you got your images on there, you become the marketer to generate traffic to the site, which again, I said, most photographers are weak at marketing, but you want to start doing that. And then, like I showed you in my site, you can have people opt in to your email newsletter, which then allows you to quickly build your email list so you can market directly to them. And I have found that this is the most profitable way to sell fine art compared to the gallery model, where I'm having to give the gallery 40 to 60% of my total sale. And more importantly, whenever somebody buys something from my site, then I have their name, email address, where they live, where it's being shipped to. And so that's fantastic. And they become now my collectors. And then finally, you're in control of all the marketing, all the sales events, and how your products are fulfilled, whether you send them out to a printer to have them print it and then ship it back to you, or ship
I
it
wanted to
directly
see
to
that
them.
it's all about selling here.
And then, or if you want to do self-fulfillment, you can make that choice, whether you want to print it yourself and do everything yourself, or whether you want to do third party. So those are the advantages of direct to consumer selling.
Hey, Doug, there are a couple of questions in the chat for you.
All right, let's jump that in there. Is Bay Photo providing all the menu and algorithms? So Bay Photo, okay, Art Storefront is the website and marketing place. They provide you the site setup. You upload everything. They have different templates. Bay Photo is a photography lab that does all the printing. So they print my metals, my canvases, my regular photo prints. So you don't have to, there's two different fulfillment labs that Art Storefront use, but I use Bay Photo myself. Okay, the question is,
So just to make sure that, so Christian, make sure I'm understanding your question. So, so Doug, I think what you just said was that Bay Photo is not the only fulfillment provider on the back end. You got a choice of different fulfillment options.
There is another fulfillment place. They also have a third fulfillment place which sells merchandise. Like, so if you want to have your images put on coffee cups or t-shirts or yoga mats or things like that, then that would be a third different fulfillment center. There's, I think it's called graphics. I don't know. There's a lab on the East Coast that does fulfillment too, but I use Bay Photo, which is out of California. I've used them for years.
And maybe, and again, Kristen, don't let me read too much into your question. So do all of the menu items change automatically based on which fulfillment center you use, or do you have to set those up yourself?
Oh, no. So that's a good question. When you first set up with Art Storefronts, they're going to say, what fulfillment place do you want to use? And then when you do that, then you get all their pricing. As far as menus go, in a sense, that's all built in based on who the fulfillment is. So like I said, so let's just say Bay Photo makes an X product, but graphics doesn't make X. Okay, so if you have graphics, then that's not going to show up for you, but Bay Photo, that particular product will be available for you. So yes, it kind of gets put in based on who you're going with. Did you set the price, or did Art Storefront suggest a price point? Okay, so Art Storefront does suggest a minimum markup level, at which point, to be honest with you, most of us don't use that minimum market level. We want to go higher. So, so different photographers in this Art Storefront, you're in full control of how much you want to sell your work for and how you want to position yourself as the artist. So they have a standard markup that they recommend just so the fact that they don't want you to lose money, but we normally take that markup and even go much higher than that. Use direct, how many prints have you sold annually? That's a good question. So I've been doing this now for just with art storefronts for about 16 months. And I've done it, to be honest with you, part-time, because between my coaching and my portrait business and so forth, the fine art is the lower end, the last 30% of my revenue. Oh, so I picked up. Sorry, I picked up Siri here. But anyway, so I've been with art storefronts for about 16 or 17 months, and I've sold about $3,000 in that time frame. So I am still learning this, because, you know, I look at this as if I'm in that bucket 2 in this case, I've still got, you know, a few more years to go to get up above 10,000, but that's where I'm at right now. Somebody said I use Miller's. Well, Miller's is not tied necessarily with art storefronts, but Bay Photo is just as good quality. I'm very familiar with Miller's, but again, this is, you know, finding out what works best for you. Now, you could do self-fulfillment. Who's that, John? John, you could do self-fulfillment and then go through Miller's to have everything printed, be sent back to you, or I believe Miller's also can drop ship to your customer. So you could do a self-fulfillment method and, you know, stay away from Bay Photo and all that altogether. And then
that's right. You can go either way with Miller's.
yeah. So, you know, that's, if you've got a great lab, then feel free to just do self-fulfillment if you go this route with, again, I'm just using art storefronts. There's other people out there, I'm sure. Okay, so out of a sale of $850, what percentage comes back to you? Okay, so art storefronts has 3 pillars. Let's just say I don't even know. I know I'm gold, so let's just say it's, you know, bronze, silver, and gold, and then so based on that, they take a transaction fee out of that price that you sold it for. Now that could be, I believe, anywhere from 4 to 7%, depending on what level you're in. Okay, and then the other fee is just your lab fee, which we would pay as photographers anyway. That gets taken out, and then the rest is your profit. So I don't have a calculator with me right away, but $850, I'm going to say it'd probably be about $725 or so, depending on what I'm purchasing from Bay Photo. Okay, does that answer the questions? Yes, Bay Photo has been great for me, and you know, and like I said, I've been happy with art storefronts, but I just wanted to show that to you. Okay, it's okay to go on, John? All right, so make sure I got everybody. Okay, John, everything good?
Yep, all good.
Okay, so part 4 here is just ways to take advantage of social media. And you want to go out and create a business page, first of all, a Facebook business page, and then an Instagram business page. And then you want to use social media to promote your work, drive people, you know, whether you do your own website, whether you're doing a third-party site, even to, you know, if you want to do a gallery, but you want to be able to drive people to wherever your products are being sold. You want to use social media to boost, if you're going to have a sale, to announce the sale, to boost the sale while it's running, offer maybe special things through your social media while the sale is going on. Another thing that's great, which I'll talk about in a minute, is doing live art shows. I'll show you that in a minute. And then more importantly, though, you want to show your different products. People who aren't photographers, they don't understand sizes. First of all, they don't understand the difference between a metal print and a canvas print, or what's a regular canvas versus a gallery canvas wrap. What's the difference between luster paper and fine art paper? Most people don't understand what that is. So you have to be able to show that, and going live on Facebook Live, for example, can help do that. Another thing that social media is great for is doing behind the scenes videos. So being photographers, there's a lot of intrigue in that. People are very interested in what we do. So if you're getting ready to go out on a shoot somewhere, pop out your phone, show people where you're going, and do some behind the scenes videos. You could come back and sit at your computer, upload your raw files, and they're all flat, and you can say, well, here's what I got. Doesn't look that great. And then come back a few minutes later and say, this is what it looks like after I've done my post-production work on it and how vibrant the colors are. People like that type of work, to be able to see that and see that you're an artist, that you're just not out there taking a quick shot, right? Taking a quick shot, running a filter, trying to sell this to me for $865, right? You want to show that there's a bunch of craftsmanship and artistry behind that. Okay, so we kind of wrap up here. What time? At 8:20. Okay, I'll go along here. Some sales and promotion strategies to help that help me, and then can help you too if you want to use this. So one thing that I recommend is doing a monthly print giveaway, and so you do this through your website and social media, and it's the ability to have a print to give away and have people sign up for it. And you can run a Facebook ad to get people to sign up to your list and sign up for this giveaway, and that builds your email list pretty quickly. And then on such and such a day, you actually have a drawing. So you go on Facebook Live and you let everybody know, hey, it's on Saturday, we're going to have a drawing at 12 o'clock to see who won the image here of the Grand Canyon. Okay, and so then people will tune into that Facebook Live and watch you draw their names, and you can do that through Google and the random name generator, and it's all legit. At which point you give, you pick a name of somebody who signed up for it, and then they get in touch with you, and then you ship out that print. So it's a great way to generate leads and email subscribers by doing that. Now, I have on here the print size and the media choice don't make a big difference. So this print that they're holding up is quite large, and it was a metal print, so it got a lot of attraction when I sold that one or gave that one away. That's when I first started out. And you can actually do smaller prints. People will take an 8x10 and sign up for an 8x10. So if you have that printed at your fulfillment center or you do it yourself, I mean, you're talking about $3 to $5. So it's not an expensive giveaway. You pay a little bit more in shipping, depending on the size of the image. But what I do too is I say, okay, when I send that print out, I say, when you receive that print and you either get it framed or you get it, send me a shot back to me that I can put on my Facebook page of you with the image. So that's another way to build credibility and better relationships with people now that are interested in your work. Here's another strategy, which is the one print for 1 month for $100. So I know we all have test prints or stuff that, when I say test print, I mean, it's really good. It's like 95% good. Or you could go out and order something that's valuable on your website. So, and then sell it for $100. And there's only one available. Okay, so that creates kind of a frenzy. If you do that on social media, it causes some urgency. And once that print is sold, it's sold. But you've made $100. And a lot of times I use images that I have already in stock and I want to move them along, and you can get $100 for it because it's one print out the door. So it's a way to get some excitement around your work anytime during the monthly thing. Okay, another strategy. This is what I was talking about, going live via Facebook or YouTube, because you want to bring customers and prospects into your world. Susan, you may want to mute yourself, get some backup noise. But so the ways to go live is you can go on and just do a website tutorial. Take people through your website, kind of like what I did tonight. Just do a slow show of just, here's how to order. It's going to ask you to the print medium. It's going to ask you the size. It's going to ask you whether you want it framed or not. Walk people through that. That could be a show. I have this shot here on the screen where I'm showing, my wife works with me a lot, and we'll show the three-dimensional things, because when you're selling online, people can't touch it. They can't feel it. So if you go and do a Facebook Live and show the sides of a canvas image, what's on the back of it, what does a metal print look like, how is that mounted on the wall, that's a very effective selling strategy. So people feel confident when they go to your website, yeah, this is what it's going to look like when I get it. So show your different, you should have product samples of a canvas, you should have acrylic, you should have papers, all that to be able to show the different papers. For example, what's a fine art versus a luster or a glossy, for example. And then what's really cool for fine art photographers is to sell your work from your studio. So you could have a live art show on a Saturday morning, promote it through your social media, and then go on Facebook Live. I use a third component called StreamYard, which then goes to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. But anyway, you sell your work and show your pieces and then link them back to your website. Now at Art Storefronts, you saw my pricing. I could create a code and, just say fine art show 25. And so if they put in that code, they would get, let's say 25% off or 15% off. So whatever that code is, you just show your work that you're selling, have it up on your site, and then they can get it for that special price. Or if you got self-fulfillment stuff that you want to ship yourself, then you can run your own art show. So that's really cool about video. Live video is the way to go if you want to sell your fine art work and you're not in a gallery. And then, like I said earlier, behind the scenes videos are great. Showing people what you're doing, taking them with you on hey, I'm getting ready to, go to Grand Canyon this morning. We're driving to it now. I'll be back with you in a few minutes. You go back, do an Instagram Live. Hey, we're at the Grand Canyon. Here's the view. I'm taking some images. And then you get back to the hotel room. You download your images to your computer. You could show them a few of the images and then show up a little bit later after you've done post-production and see you've got some excitement and you've actually taken your customer with you through all these behind the scenes videos. Okay, other strategies is the calendar is your friend. So there's plenty of things and opportunities to advertise your services and your artwork through holidays. Valentine's Day is coming up, Mother's Day, Father's Day. The big one is end of summer sales, great. A Black Friday sales, great. And end of year sales. So those are just some times that you can market yourself and set those in your calendar and promote them on social media. Email campaigns, you want to try, this is again, a marketing thing that a lot of photographers can't do consistently, and it does take a lot of time and effort, is try to come up with some weekly content that you can send out to your email list. And it keeps you top of mind regarding what you're doing. And, just show something that you're working on or getting ready to release. Tell people where you're going. If you're traveling to, you're working with an instructor or you're going out with a group to Yellowstone Park, like someone said earlier tonight. So a weekly email campaign can help keep you in the front mind of your prospects and customers. Like I said, if you can display your work at local businesses, just walk in with a print and see if they'll allow you to hang it up. That would be great. If you can get in a couple places and then you can send people to them and say, hey, on social media, I just got into this restaurant or I'm over here at the store. This is where my work is. Sell your work at local art stores, card stores. If you want to do some note cards, maybe somebody will let you sell some note cards there. Now they're going to probably take a little bit of that cut, but that's okay. You're getting your work noticed in the community. Art fairs in this area, we have art fairs, especially around the holiday time and in the springtime. So you can rent a table, usually $25 to $50 will get you a table for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours roughly, and you sell your wares. Again, validate your photography, see what sells, keep track of that, but that's simple ways to do that. And then the last one would be open edition prints versus limited edition. So what's the difference? Well, on my website, if you go there now, everything that you see is what I call open edition print, meaning you can buy those prints in any size, any medium, no restrictions whatsoever. And then there's limited editions. So if there's something special that you've created and you want to cap it at, I'm only going to sell 20 of these, that's all that's ever going to be available. They're going to be hand signed. They're going to get a certificate of authenticity with it. Then that's another way to go, which you can up your price for because it's very limited edition. So there's pros and cons to that, because sometimes, people are seeing your site and they say, wow, I really like that. I'll just want a small print of that. It takes care of them right now. And then they order that print. Versus if that same print was limited edition and was like 4 or 5 times higher in price, they may pull away from it. But on the other end is that if you have serious collectors out there who are looking for photography that's very limited, then you've got a market there with a more serious collector. So there's pros and cons to that, and think about just testing it out and doing both. All right, so as we wrap up, success for photographers who want to start their business really comes down to these 3 things that we've kind of covered tonight, which number 1, kind of find your niche. What do you like to do? But more importantly, what do people want to buy from you, right? So validate your photography, get some samples of your work out there, start selling prints, note cards, calendars, just to see what the market has and wants from you. And then if you're just starting out and wanting to do this, remember that 5 to 10 thing exercise I talked about, where you just go out and photograph some things in the local area and see what you can sell, and then monitor that, okay? And then as you get more into selling your work, people following you more, then that's where you want to start your email marketing campaign, start building that audience up. And like I said, get your social media followers up more. Start doing monthly giveaways, the live art shows, behind the scene videos, and getting yourself out there by selling at the art fairs and so forth. And then the third thing is, once you've got that going, look for ways to create passive income streams for you. So selling in person is usually the best way to sell your fine art photography, because people can actually see it, touch it, hold it. But then selling directly online with your website exclusively is a great way. You can sell on third-party sites like I showed you with Fine Art America. Sell directly right here in the studio with the live art shows. And then you can always see if you can get a gallery to take in your work. That's definitely an option too. All right, so those are the 3 things. And I really think you guys can do this, because I've seen some of the work that this group has put together, and you guys are talented. So it's whether you want to make that choice to go from being a photographer who wants to start a business to being a business person who sells photography products and services. So that's the mindset shift that you have to go and do. But I really think it can be a great way to make some extra income, build a business that you're in control of. And, if you do things right, you'll increase your revenue and your followers. And so I want you to, think about that, dream big, and love what you do. Okay. And so before I go tonight or answer any questions, you've got my website. If you're thinking at all of going into business, I've got some blog posts that are free on the website. I have a business resource that you can download, which is your email, right? But it's 6 crucial steps to creating a thriving and profitable photography business. And then I also have this ability, if you want to chat more about your business or thinking about it and want to bounce some ideas off me, or if you want to know more about running a fine art business, you can go on my site and do a startup call with me. It's free. We just chat and see if we're a good match. And if we're a good match and you want business coaching, then I'll give you 1 month free coaching if you sign up for a coaching package. So that's all I've got. But with that said, it's been a pleasure. I wish I could have done it live in front of everybody to see everybody reaction and all that, but I think we've done great. And I really appreciate you guys coming tonight and spending time with me. So with that being said, what questions do we have?
So yeah, I don't know if you got the chat up, but we've got a few. And if you start with Sydney with the question on the hourly rate.
All right, let's see here. Where's
He's asking, do you have an hourly rate you want to achieve on a print? In essence, how do you come up with a price for an image? And obviously, the size of the print comes into play.
Yeah, so regarding pricing, again, you're in control, but initially, if you're going to go to like Bay Photo, for example, find out, first of all, how much they're charging for that print. Now, here's a problem that most photographers get into when they're first starting out. So let's just say Bay Photo charges for an 8x10. Let's just make it easy, $5. And that includes the print and shipping to your house. Okay, so you say $5. Okay, that's great. Well, I'm just going to mark that up 4 times. So I'm going to sell it for $20. Well, yeah, you make $15 from Bay Photo, but what about your time it took you to take the photograph, to download the photograph, to make your Lightroom adjustments, your Photoshop adjustments, and all this other stuff. So you're completely forgetting that. So that's why the cost of the print and you've got to figure that out separately, along with your time and effort that it took you to do that. Now, PPA, Professional Photographers of America, I was just at their convention. They use a standard rate of $30 an hour. And I said, well, why $30 an hour? But what they do, they say there's 2,080 hours in a year. That's a full-time photographer. And if you divide that by like 30, you get around $60,000, that would be your salary. So that's what they use. So whether you figure yourself as more valuable than $30 or not, but that I wouldn't go below that, to be honest with you. But I think, so you take your hourly time that you've put into it, and then your cost to produce it. And, if there's any shipping involved in it, and then that's a starting point to see what it is. And so Art Storefronts recommends a $250, 250% markup. And like I said, most photographers are doing 400 to 450% based on what the fulfillment centers are selling it for.
So that was pretty much what I expected the answer to be, because it's similar to other, I'll call it crafts. You kind of start, I've always, stuff I used to do started out with what do I want to get as an hourly rate, and then you have to add on cost of materials, cost of running a business, and everything else. So it's not a simple formula, but there's a formula there. And then I guess you also have to take into account, if what you want to net, you have to take into account what a gallery or an art front or something, what they're going to take off the top.
Exactly.
So,
and a lot of times what I do with my clients, we'll work backwards. How much do you want to actually take home? And then, then you've got to, okay, that's your take home that you want to actually take home and pay yourself. But then you've got to generate like 2 to 3 times more of that in order to be able to do that, because you're going to have, you're going to have a website hosting expenses. You're going to have a lot of expenses, whether you sell your photography or not. And then when you actually sell photography, that becomes a cost of sales, right? So that's the print, that's the shipping, that's the mounting, that's the retouching. But that only happens when you sell. Same with if you're taking credit cards, that transaction fee that gets taken out only happens when somebody uses that credit card. So you've got to break out your cost of sales versus your fixed costs every month that you're going to have, whether you sell a print or not. And you got to put that together. And then you've got to know how much revenue you need to make in order to cover those costs, pay yourself, have a profit. And then that becomes kind of the number you're trying to strive for.
Moving on to the next question that we have up here was, do you have a recommended platform or recommendation for an email list management server?
I personally do. Art Storefronts is hooked together with MailChimp. I am not a fan of MailChimp. I find them to be a little bit difficult. They do have, they're free for the first 1,000 email subscribers. However, my recommendation is ConvertKit. ConvertKit is also free for the first 1,000 subscribers. So those are my two recommendations. There's other ones that are out there that can be a little more sophisticated, like Active Campaign, for example. That's a little more sophisticated, maybe a little more expensive. But if you're going into business for yourself to start, I would find a service that you can do until you get up to 1,000 subscribers. And then you start paying a monthly fee, but it's going to take you a while to get to the 1,000 subscribers. But I do like ConvertKit over MailChimp.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on selling images via NFTs?
I have not experienced that at this point. It's still early, but I have not done any NFTs at this point. So I'm really not the guy to answer that question.
Okay. And there's another question from Masood. Is there a business plan template for photographers or a photo studio that can be modified?
Well, yeah, I mean, the answer is yeah. I mean, you can, again, try to do this yourself, or you can work with somebody that doesn't have to be me, but I'm just saying somebody who understands the business side and of photography. And, you know, that's the thing. There's business coaches out there, but business coaching for photography to me is different because I know as a photographer, most of you, and I say us, we don't like numbers, right? And I'm surprised, you know, it's almost 2 hours in and people are still here and we've been talking numbers in business, right? But so you got to understand that as a business coach, that everybody's not into the business side, but they have to be successful. So working with somebody who understands the photography business, you can kind of create your template and then work with them to actually focus on your needs. That's the other thing with photographers. Most of the photographers are part-time in the world today. Most have full-time jobs, or they have a spouse who's making good money. They're using photography through enjoyment, hobby, making some money when they can. So if you want to start upping that a little bit, then, you know, you've just got to work with somebody who understands that business model.
Okay. And a question about, do you sell at local events or trade events?
Yes, I do. I mean, for example, I live in Ashburn here. So every year there's Broadlands has their, Christmas market. The Blend Cafe had a Christmas thing this year. A lot of times there's something in the spring to get, people out in the parking lot. So I do about 4 or 5 a year whenever I can. And most of that is just $25, $30 for the table. And then you're there for about 3 to 5 hours and then selling whatever you have. So it's a good opportunity to, again, validate your photography, see what works, what doesn't. There's some things to consider when you're doing these, is that most people who are coming to these events aren't carrying, you're not going to be selling big wall portraits, wall decor at these sessions. So no cards work good, small prints work good, some canvas prints work good, smaller size, because people don't want to lug that around. Secondly, they're not carrying cash. And that's the other thing, if you can get a Venmo account for your business, that's a great way to go, or Stripe, because more people will buy from you if you can take a card versus cash.
Okay. And a question about website traffic. Do you track the views or hits per month or unique views, and do you monitor it? And is there a linkage there between, visitors coming to the site and percentage of sales, conversions?
Yeah, there's a whole back end to the Art Storefronts thing that lets you know, they call it the detective. And I can find people that, so I know Daryl's a friend of mine, he's a member here, but so let's say Daryl goes out and he starts shopping around on my site, and then he actually puts something in his cart, but then he says, I'm not going to pay Doug that much money. So he takes that, he leaves it in his cart and walks away, gets out of the site. I'll get a message that Daryl's got some stuff in my site. So then I could actually email him and say, hey, if you're on the fence of whether you want to purchase this or not, I'd be glad to, do a call with you, or if you got any questions, let me know. So that's how deep Art Storefronts goes. Now, as far as regular web traffic and Google Analytics and stuff too, yes, that's also available through that. And then the other thing that Art Storefronts does, again, I'm not promoting, I'm kind of promoting them just because of my experience, but I'm not affiliated with them in that regard. But they do have a great marketing team, and they have a marketing Facebook page. So all the photographers and artists can go on there. It's called Small Wins, and they can put in the good, the bad, and the ugly that's going on, and other people respond to it. So I find that you're working in a community versus if you went out and said, okay, I'm going to start a Squarespace site myself and create it myself. Well, then nobody's helping you market. So these are things to consider if you want to do online sales directly.
All right. And you were talking earlier about the use of social media like YouTube and Facebook Live, et cetera. What are your thoughts about Instagram and posting on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram for photography is kind of a must. I personally have to do a better job of it myself, but it's definitely a great avenue because you're taking photographs and you're putting them up on that site. You can tell stories. You can do Instagram lives. I do that once in a while. I'll be out with my camera, even with my iPhone. I'll find something. I'll just go and do a quick Instagram live and little video for my audience. So yes, I would definitely recommend Instagram. And depending on the age group, where is your clients hanging out? So some people may be older, not on Instagram. Some people that are younger are definitely on Instagram. A lot of my clients are on Facebook, so you've got to kind of measure that out too.
And earlier, when you were talking about taking your prints out to local craft fairs, et cetera, and you made a comment about smaller sizes. What do you usually use as a smaller size?
So I have some matted. So the mat is an 8x10 and some 5x7s in there. So they're all matted, and so I try to sell it that way with an easel. So sometimes people can buy the matted print with an easel. 11x14s, or I sell a lot of 13x18s that I print myself, and those can easily be framed at your Michaels, or your local framer can easily frame that. So 13x18 is probably the biggest that I do. I may take one large 24x30 just to have on an easel to grab attention. But most of the stuff is, I sell a lot of note cards. So I print my own note cards and sell packs of those, and those smaller prints, 5x7s and 8x10 mats.
And just so that I'm clear, hopefully, Katie was the one with the question. When you said it's 5x7, you're talking about the actual size of a print, a 13x18, the size of the actual print, or is that the outer dimensions of the mat?
So the 13x18s is the print size, and then I have them mounted on I mount them myself on a self-adhesive backboard, so they're all firm. And then the 8x10 mats are 8x10 in size with a 5x7 opening.
Okay. And what you talked about, you print so many stuff at home. What printers do you use?
So I have an Epson printer here that I use, but most of the stuff that I'm selling to the public, definitely through my website, is all done through Bay Photo.
Okay. And that takes us to the end of the questions. If you get a chance to take a look at the chat, I think you'll find a lot of folks have come out here thanking you for the presentation. It was a really great presentation, lots of solid information to digest. We did record this session tonight, so that would be available to us on the club YouTube link, and that is available from our website as well, loudandphotoclub.com. And that is it. I'm going to stop the recording at this point in time. Click the stop. Yes.